So one other thing that the teacher will have the ability to do, of course, is to manage their student's account. So to manage their student's account, they're just going to go to that Manage Students tab, and it's going to transport them right over to the student management page. And what your teachers are going to love is that they've already rostered their kids, or will have already rostered their kids through Raz Kids since they're familiar with that. They don't have to go through and roster them again. The only thing that they might want to do is they might want to, on the roster page, click on the Science A to Z tab, and they might want to set their students' reading level. Okay, so that's where that chart can come in handy. Therefore, when resources are provided to Maria, she's going to have the middle resources. Okay, Brittany's going to have the K through 2 high. So you can differentiate here.
So we'll automatically assign based on the level that's pre-selected, or the teacher has to create those groups?
Well, what it's going to do is that by default, I think it's going to put, by default, whatever level they're listed in Raz Kids. So for example, I just changed Maria's. Okay, let's look at Ashley. Ashley is AA. So she is and see, I go in and I change these all the time. I think by default, when they go in there for the first time, there's either two options. One is that it's just going to list everybody as K2 low, so like the very basic, and then they would need to go in and make the selection for each student. Or it's going to, which I think this is the way it does, it's going to be defaulted according to their Raz Kids level. Okay? So if a student is listed in Raz Kids as a level P, then what that correlates to in Science A to Z, it will automatically be defaulted here. But again, this is pretty general, so I would certainly encourage teachers to come in and make the right fit for their student, and they can change that at any time.
So I understand that, but then let's say I want to assign one of those Science A to Z books to my students. Is it going to assign the correct level to them?
Yes.
Or do I have to go and say, I want the low ones assigned, and I have to know which kids are low, and I want the medium ones, and so I have to go specifically assign that to the medium kids?
No, when you create an assignment, it is going to, so let's go ahead and walk through that. So you can either do an assignment one of two ways. You can assign individual assignments, so we'll talk about that secondly, or you can assign an entire class assignment. So if you assign an entire class assignment, so let's say adaptations, you're using adaptations. So if you hit add assignment, you can see that you can select that unit. So adaptations, where was that at? There it is, 5-6, okay? So now where it's going to be the little bit of a nuance is that your teachers will have those 6th grade students listed as either high, middle, or low. So that every student, if I assign adaptations 5-6 to my class, if a student is listed low, they'll get the low resources. If they're listed medium, they'll get the medium. If they're listed high, they'll get the high. Mine's going to look a little bit different because I've got a demo here and kids all over the place. But your students, it will, for the entire class, differentiate based on the level that you have them in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you were to assign a assignment individually, you can do that through the Assignments tab. Okay, your teachers are probably pretty familiar with this from Raz Kids. So you can go into Science A to Z, or I'm sorry, you can go into this, the Science A to Z tab. There's that assignment again. And you can also click on the student's individual account, and you can assign things from there too. But the easiest way, and the way that most teachers are probably going to do it, is like we did it the first way, because they're all going to be most likely working in the same topic in a given time. The only thing that will differ would be the level of readability for those resources.
And they can only have one assignment at a time, correct?
Right, yeah. Right now they can only have one specific assignment. However, the next column over, Science Library, that's kind of like the book room in Raz Kids where they can have like access to all the books. That's exactly what the Science Library is. So if you want, they could have access to additional unit resources or all of them if you wanted them to. Or you can totally turn this off so that the only thing they're going to have access to is adaptations. So, and when we go over to the student side, I'll kind of show what that looks like because these are going to be two separate icons. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, the Science in the News, those are those e-magazines. Again, you can turn those on or off too. If you don't want your students to have access to those, you can turn that off and they won't pop up on the screen. Okay. So just a few, again, your teachers will have the students already rostered, it sounds like. All they'll want to do is come in and they'll want to adjust the level for the student. And then if they know that a specific unit is coming up that they want the students to have access to, they can create the assignment for all their students, and it'll differentiate the level of resources that are provided to them because it's already been set here. The Science Library is all the units. So if they want them to have access to all the units, they can go into the library, and that can also be customized or turned on or off based on their preference. And the same with Science in the News. Okay. Any questions about that?
Nope, I think we're good.
All right. So what I think I'll do next is I'll take you guys over to the student side just so that you can see what these different icons look like and when the student clicks on them, what is available in there. So the kids are going to access Science A to Z the exact same way that they access Raz Kids. So they don't need any new passwords or logins, anything like that. They just simply need to locate their name, and they go into their Science Planet. So they'll have their Reading Planet and their Science Planet. So they'll click on their Science Planet, and here are those three icons, okay? So here is where the student will have the in the news. And remember, this can be turned on or off based on the teacher's preference. But for this student, it's currently turned on. So the student will be able to come in here and they can see all the past issues. It's almost like a little library. And they can, of course, see the most recent issue. If they open up the resource, they're going to have the same tools that they have available in Raz Kids. So these will all be familiar to them also. They can read and record. They can draw on the screen and highlight and make notations. They have Post-it notes, and they also have a word journal and a reflection journal they can create. Now, remember where when we were over in the management, I just assigned a unit to the students, okay? I happened to assign the adaptation unit we've been talking about. So when I click on assignment as a student, I get my Science A to Z adaptation resources. These are all the digital resources that my teacher has opened up for me in this unit. Now you'll see when I open up one of the resources, I'll go ahead and open up this book. You'll see that it has one dot on it. And that means that this student is in Science A to Z as a low reader. So it automatically provided her the resources that are at that lower level. Okay. And then finally, there's that library. This can be turned on or off. And the library, you can see now, is just like walking into the library in your town. You can kind of come in here and you can pull all resources at, different levels and different units. So this is kind of just opening up a whole range of resources for the student. So this is where your teacher might want to, might find it valuable to put some restrictions on the library, just because if they know that they have a unit that they're going to be teaching in a couple months from now, they might not want the students to be utilizing those resources yet. They might want to save them in order to assign them as an assignment. Does that help kind of see what the students are seeing on their end?
Yes.
Okay, good. Any questions about that?
And the kids are still collecting stars for completing reading and listening and...
Yep, you got it, exactly. So those features will work just the same as Raz Kids. They'll have their star zone and their little avatar up here with their stars. And messages can be sent back and forth or sent from the teacher to the student in the same way that is been done in Raz Kids. So a lot of the same functionality. Okay, good question. Any other questions?
I think we're good.
All right. So what I'm going to do real quickly here, I want to be respectful of your guys' time. I'm just going to head back over very quickly to the management side. Just keep in mind, very similar to Raz Kids, you can also get some data. So you can get your data from the reports button, and you're going to be able to click on your Science A to Z tab, and this is where you'll be able to get all of your information about what your students are doing in Science A to Z. So what I like about this is that I can use this information and look at the skills my students are working in on Science A to Z, and I can tie that into my instructional decisions. So I know that if in Science A to Z my students are struggling with recall, then I know that that's a skill that I can come in and I can click on that skill and I can see which student is perhaps struggling with that and who's been working on it. Now, my account is a demo account, so it's not real data. So your teachers will have a lot better data in order to pull from here. I don't know why it keeps doing that to me. Okay. So again, just some additional information in order to inform your instruction and to kind of see how your students are doing. And then finally, you have an in basket. And in Science A to Z, there is going to be some constructed response questions that students can do through their quizzes that they take. And the teacher can come in here and they can see what the student's quiz was that they took from a book. So for example, Animals in the Ground, Arthur scored a 5 out of 5. But he also, if I click on it, has a constructed response question that I can score using the rubric over here. Okay.